Are you thinking about pruning your shrubs? Well, don't use the hedge trimmers. Instead, I would recommend that you prune by hand. It's actually faster, it's cheaper, and it's healthier for your shrubs. Hi, I'm Basil. Today we're talking about pruning shrubs, and I want to start by showing you why these hedge trimmers are not usually the best option for pruning your shrubs. So come on over, I want to show you an azalea. This is an azalea. It's something we often see in the landscape here in Raleigh, North Carolina. And before I begin, I'm putting on some safety equipment. I would recommend you always have at least eye and ear protection if you are going to use hedge trimmers. All right, let's begin. Okay, we finished shearing this azalea using the hedge trimmers, and because of the nature of the hedge trimmers, we can't really control what or how or where we're cutting. So we have lots of branches that have been split, that have jagged ends, leaves that have been cut in half, lots of damage on a micro scale within each of the individual branches. But the worst problem is we've cut off many of the buds that actually help regulate the growth of this plant. With those buds now gone, we're going to see an explosion of new growth. It's the Hydra effect. You cut off one head, or in this case, branch, and a bunch of new ones pop back. Now we're going to have to do a lot more maintenance, a lot more shearing on this shrub. So what I'd like to do next is I'd like to use these Felcos and show you an alternative way to prune your shrubs. One of the big advantages with using Felcos is that we're able to make very clean cuts, so we don't have to worry about jagged edges and split branches and leaves being cut in half. We're able to make cuts that will heal. The other big advantage with using hand pruners like these Felcos, we're able to be very precise about where we make our cuts, and that's very important. And by being precise, we're able to avoid the Hydra effect. We won't have this issue of cutting the buds that regulate growth. This means our work will stay in effect for longer. This is good. It means less maintenance, less money, that sort of thing. So I'm going to show you 3 very specific cuts that we can use when hand pruning in a shrub like this or any other shrub. Okay, so the first cut we're going to make is cutting the main branch back to a side lateral. And this is the effect. We've reduced the length of the branch, and now these can sustain the growth of this branch and regulate the growth so that we don't have the Hydra effect. So another cut that we'll use is cutting these side laterals back to the main branch. This is a great example right here. We'll just make that cut right here. Now here's the cool thing. This main branch still has the buds necessary to control the growth of the remaining portions of the branch. A third type of cut that we'll often make is cutting a central branch out from between 2 or 3 or 4 others. And you want to get as deep as you can. You're not going to always be able to get all the way down. It's just the way it is. It'll still heal. But again, these side laterals will regulate the growth of the remaining portion of the branch. So I've shown you these 3 basic cuts that we'll be using. Now we're going to apply those cuts. And you can apply them in many different ways. It just depends on what your goals are. My goal for this azalea is just simply to reduce the size. I kind of want it to look a little bit like that other one that we sheared, though maybe not as rounded. I'd like to bring the form in a little bit, so I'll be going after some of these longer branches, and I'll be making those precise cuts like we talked about. That's really all I wanted. I just sort of wanted to get that leggy growth off. And the interesting thing is we have basically the same effect as with the other azalea. The leggy growth is gone, but the plant will react a lot more positively to the way we've pruned here. There aren't the jagged and cut branches, and we've not cut it in such a way that we're going to see an explosion in growth. So let's compare these two methodologies. On the one hand, the hedge trimming, it's faster on an individual basis. That said, you can actually get pretty fast hand pruning. But we've got to look at the effect of hedge trimming. It creates the hydra effect, which means new sprouts pop up. Now you've got to shear it again and again, and this happens all growing season. We have clients and sites where you have to prune and shear literally 5-6 times per season. In comparison, when we're hand pruning and we're being careful about where we make the cuts, we might only have to prune once a year, maybe even once every 2 years. So when we're looking at the different ways to prune over the long term, this hand pruning option is cheaper, it's faster, and let's not forget, it's healthier for the plants.